Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're going to tackle a paradox that, let's be honest, so many of us know all too well. Why a day spent doing absolutely nothing can leave you feeling completely and totally drained.
I mean, really think about it. You've finally got a day to yourself, you spend it on the couch, maybe you're scrolling, maybe watching some TV, you haven't worked, you've barely moved, and yet by the end of the day, your body feels heavy and your mind is just fried. Sound familiar? Yeah, I thought so.
Well, if that feeling of burnout hits you hardest when you're supposed to be resting, I really want you to hear this. It is not a personal failing. You're not lazy. What's happening is your brain is stuck in high gear. It's just working overtime on a frequency that you haven't learned how to switch off yet.
There's actually a name for this feeling. Psychologists call it uneasy rest. And it's basically a state where, even though everything around you is calm and quiet, your nervous system is still on high alert. It's scanning for threats, looking for problems to solve. So you're physically still, but mentally, you're running a marathon.
And this really gets to the heart of the difference, right? True rest isn't just about not being active. It's about having that mental quiet, that clarity. Uneasy rest, on the other hand, is just sitting still while your mind continues to sprint through your to-do lists, your worries, and all your regrets.
So what's the deal? Why does this happen? Why can't our brains just, power down when we do? Well, it turns out there are 5 hidden psychological reasons that are secretly burning you out.
We're going to walk through these 5 specific drivers of this crazy exhaustion, and you'll see how each one kind of builds on the last. So let's just dive right in with number 1.
First up, a guarded nervous system. Now, if you grew up in an environment where you had to be the responsible one, your brain probably developed something called a chronic stress adaptation. You learned early on that calm was really just the quiet before the storm. So now, as an adult, doing nothing can feel genuinely threatening because your entire identity is wrapped up in being useful and needed.
All right, reason number 2 is something often found in really intelligent people. It's called hyperconnectivity. This is where your brain is basically hardwired to connect to everything, always trying to see the full picture. You might be thinking about a simple task at work, and bam, suddenly your brain connects it to your long-term career goals, your financial worries, and what you're going to have for dinner. Even when you're resting, your mind is trying to solve everything, all at once.
And all that hyperconnecting? Well, it kicks off a process called metacognition, which is literally thinking about your own thinking. You're not just sitting there, you're analyzing your own flaws, you're questioning past decisions, you're strategizing for the future, and this creates this huge mismatch between your resting body and your racing mind. The energy that takes is just immense. Reason number 3 is a big one. It's something so many of us fall into: the dopamine trap. A lot of the time, when we think we're doing nothing, what we're actually doing is engaging in escape behavior, right? Like scrolling through social media just to avoid a difficult task. Your brain gets totally hooked on the anticipation of the next post, creating this little dopamine spike that hijacks your focus and leaves you feeling even more exhausted than before. And here's the real kicker. You are not actually resting. You're basically a participant in a perfectly engineered loop that's designed to keep your attention locked in. It's a form of mental work, not relaxation at all. The 4th reason you might feel tired all day is fragmented sleep. See, your brain cares way more about the quality of sleep, not just the quantity. If your mind is cluttered with worries, your stress hormone, cortisol, stays high, and this prevents you from ever reaching those deep, restorative stages of sleep where all that important emotional processing happens. So yeah, your body rests, but your mind, it never truly logs off. And that mental clutter, it doesn't just mess with our sleep, it brings us to reason number 5. And this metaphor just nails it. Our brains are constantly processing all the visual noise around us. If you're resting in a messy room that's full of unfinished projects, your brain is treating every single one of those items like an open tab on a computer, and it's just draining your mental battery in the background. This is exactly why you hear about practices like Danshari, the Japanese art of decluttering. It's not just about having a tidy space because it looks nice. Every single object you see is a micro-decision for your brain. So by decluttering your physical world, you are literally removing thousands of tiny mental tasks. That helps lower cortisol and allows you to actually rest.
Okay, so we've laid out the problem, and it's a big one. But what do we do about it? How do we get from this constant state of mental noise to a place of genuine clarity and, real rest?
Well, the solution isn't some grand, perfect, Instagram-worthy day of rest. It's about small, sustainable actions. Take forest bathing. This isn't about some epic hike. It's just 10 minutes of simply observing nature, which has been shown to lower cortisol and reset your whole emotional baseline. Or you could try Kaizen, the art of 1% daily improvement. Instead of overwhelming yourself with a huge goal, just focus on one tiny, manageable step your brain can actually handle, like tidying one little corner of your desk.
But you know, all these techniques are just tools. They only work if you address the real root issue. It's not just about finding the time to rest, it's about giving yourself permission to.
And if you feel exhausted while you're doing nothing, please let this message really sink in. True strength isn't about being on all the time. It's about recognizing that you've carried enough and that you are finally allowed to set it down.
So, if there's one thing you take away from all this, let it be this. Your worth as a human being is not measured by your to-do list. It's not measured by your output. You absolutely deserve a break from that version of yourself that thinks it always has to be productive.
And that brings us to the end. So I'm going to leave you with this question to really think about. Not an easy rest, not just scrolling, but one small intentional act of true mental clarity. What's yours going to be?